Good evening and welcome. You're watching the News Hour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today marks 1 year of the protests against the 3 farm laws brought in by the Modi government. The laws have in principle now been rolled back by the centre. But the protests continue even now because the protesters are still adamant on 6 demands. The most important among them, or the most prominent one among them, is that of guaranteed MSP, which is minimum support price for their agricultural produce. In fact, they have written a fresh letter to the Prime Minister saying that MSP for entire crop should be a legal entitlement. But is this possible? Economists and the government are wary of how this will not only put a huge load on the exchequer, but also eventually drive up inflation that will, in the end, hurt the poor more. The protesters, on the other hand, say that this legal backing will guarantee farmers and will help them give a buffer against changing market demands and a possible glut of crops in a year when there is excess production. Basically, that irrespective of market demand, the farmer will be assured a steady and assured income. So, which is the logic that works better? Let's discuss.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Okay, we're not getting into the politics. We are going to keep it strictly on economics and the logic behind MSP and why it works or doesn't. Avik Saha, National President of the Jai Kisan Andolan, is joining us along with agri-economist Vijay Sardana. I request both gentlemen to make one point at a time so we can basically have a point-on-point discussion. Avik Saha, what is your most strong argument in favor of having MSP?
Secured income for a large section of the population, which will lead to an infusion of spending capacity and therefore funds into the Indian economy, which will lead to growth of the economy. Okay. If you pay MSP to farmers, you are actually doing a great service to the Indian economy.
Just for clarity, the letter that you have written now says that minimum support price based on comprehensive cost of production should be made a legal entitlement of all farmers for all agricultural produce so that every farmer of the country can be guaranteed at least the MSP announced for the government, by the government for their entire crop. Now, right now the government pays MSP for 27 crops. Is it your demand that all agricultural produce, not just these 27 crops, should be covered by the MSP regime?
No, that's not the demand.
Okay, so we are sticking to the 27 crops.
MSP for those crops. Yeah.
Okay.
The Essential Commodities Act crops, if you may.
Okay. Why can't that work, Vijay Sardana? If it's only 27 crops, why can't the government say, all right, come what may, all of your crops are going to be bought by the government at MSP, not a paisa lower, not a paisa higher?
Padmaja, see, we all are living in a country which is governed by the Constitution of India. And Constitution says that all citizens are equal and nobody should have a preferential treatment. When all farmers, those who are producing any type of crop or livestock product or fisheries product, if they are farmers, they are entitled for what wheat and rice or paddy farmers are entitled. There should not be discrimination. That is the Constitution of India. If you take the total value of agriculture produce in the country, it is something about 30 to 31 lakh crores. So first of all, when you are giving a guarantee, then who will be accountable for what is not clarified by the farmer unions till now? Number one. Number two, another important data let me share with you. We are 140 crore people in this country. As per the good food habit, when everybody is eating stomach full, on an average we need something about 2000 calories of food.
No, we'll come to that in just a second. Mr. Saha, yes. How are you going to explain the sheer amount of money that is going to be required for the government to buy all the produce of these 27 crops from all the farmers? Eventually, this will lead to inflation and ultimately we'll end up paying more.
Padmajaji, this is the fallacy, and the problem is when you propagate a fallacy for too long, it tends to become the truth. The farmers are not asking the government to buy 1 grain more than what is required for PDS. The farmers are asking the government to create an enabling and enforcing environment where they are assured price. It's just like you and me. The government has created a legal entitlement for us not to have to pay anything more than the printed MRP. If the government can enforce MRP for all consumers, 140 crore of us throughout the country, the government surely can enforce MSP for 70, 80 crore farmers. We are asking for enforcement, not procurement. And this is at the core of the debate and the facts that are being wrongly presented.
No, but what do you have to say about the money? The figure that Mr. Sardana is giving is of several lakh crores, and that is simply not feasible for the government to spend on buying food grain, all of which will also not be consumed by the PDS.
I must have not been able to explain myself. I said the government, the figure that Vijayji said has nothing to do with the government. That is the total value of the crops produced in the country. The government will buy what it requires for PDS at MSP, which it already does. For the rest of the country, the government will ensure mechanism, just like the government has the Indian Penal Code and the Code of Criminal Procedure and enforces it. It is the government's job to ensure that the farmers of this country get a sustainable income, which was my first point, because that's what will help the government create a buoyant Indian economy.
Mr. Sardana.
I think it's, you interrupted me. I had that answer to this question earlier itself. First of all, very interestingly, Avik Sahib accepted that when you propagate a fallacy for too long, it looks like a truth. And that was the classic case of 3 farm laws. That zameen chali jayegi, kisan lut jayega, barbad ho jayega. So that fallacy they propagated and they know how to do it. Now coming back to the facts. See, let me give you a live example and which I wanted to give you to answer what Mr. Avik Shah is saying. We are 140 crore people. Every citizen in the country needs for a full stomach, if I say that 2000 calories, 50% should come from the grains. That is the nutrition science of India. It means every citizen should get 91 kgs of grains per year. If you multiply 91 kg into 140 crore, it becomes 127.4 million tons of grains. Our production in the country is 305 million tons. Tell me who will buy remaining 160 million tons, because every citizen is getting what they are eating, whatever they want for their nutrition. The surplus of 160 million tons, can Mr. Avik Shah will tell whether farmer will keep? It means on an average a farmer is producing 100 kg, 40 will be consumed and sold in the market, 60 who will buy? There is no demand in the country. Now they are saying make MSP mandatory. Then what will happen? No consumer, either private or PDS or farmer, everybody is having full in 127. Who will buy the remaining 160 million tons and at what price? They should tell me. Second,
okay,
they should also tell me for
where will the surplus 160 million go?
Just a minute, let me complete. Then for which quality they are asking MSP?
Okay.
For which quality they are asking MSP?
Okay, first question, where will the surplus 160 million go? Who will buy it?
And at what price?
Mr. Saha.
Yeah. Mr. Sardana has talked about cereal crop production figures. These figures arise for crops that currently actually get MSP. We started this debate by saying the government has to give MSP for 27 crops, the central government. If the government actually starts giving MSP for sunflower, for Niger, for mustard, there will be crop diversity, and I've heard the Prime Minister correctly say many times that we need crop diversity. It is because the government procures only cereal crops. The farmers feel that I will get MSP if I grow this crop. If the government ensures that the farmer will get MSP for other crops, the farmers will grow the other crops. And this production of cereal crops will automatically come down. It's commonsensical.
Do you agree with that, Mr. Sardana? In fact, you should increase and expand the MSP blanket.
Madam,
that will be encouragement for farmers to look beyond sugarcane, paddy and wheat.
My request is that what is happening today, Mr. Avik Shah, why your farmers are not eating bajra and jowar, which is also not able to sell, and also only eating wheat and rice. So when you are saying that MSP will diversify, no. It is the market demand which diversifies, not the MSP. I think fundamentals about the human behavior, I think farmer leaders should understand how consumer make the choices, why they should buy something which is available. Bajra is cheaper. Why they are buying rice which is 50 rupees kg when bajra is 25 rupees? Why people are not eating bajra? It is cheaper. My point here comes up is that it is a myth, it is an illogical justification that MSP diversifies. What diversifies is the market forces. And if you are not encouraging market forces for consumption, MSP will be liability, because please understand, MSP is a formula for shortage economy. It is never for a surplus economy. And that is why no sensible country ever promotes government procurement and government support price interventions when you are operating in a surplus economy. That is the fundamental logic on which the economies work, consumer behavior happens.
Mr. Saha, for example, since you were talking about a surplus economy, that is the problem being faced vis-a-vis bajra in Rajasthan and sugarcane in Uttar Pradesh, where the Niti Aayog is actually saying too much land is being planted with sugarcane, which is why that entire process of sugar mill not paying the arrears, etc. is happening. And similar is the case with bajra in Rajasthan. Is there not a case then of things becoming worse if MSP was made a legal guarantee for already surplus crops like this?
You see, you've hit the nail on the head, Padmajaji. Sugarcane, rice and wheat are the three crops for which farmers feel they will get return fixed prices, because these are guaranteed through government procurement and through the sugarcane control order. My argument, I'm unable to convince Vijayji, perhaps I'm not being able to communicate to him, is that if the government encourages consumption of bajra, then farmers will grow bajra. Farmers are producers who produce what the market needs. The farmers cannot create nutrition habits. It is the government that will have to do it.
But how can the government encourage consumption?
In South Haryana, bajra is...
People will decide what they want to consume.
No, Padmaja, the point here is that
government...
farmers themselves are consumers. They themselves are. Why they are not eating their own crop? Interesting part here is that bajra farmer is not eating bajra, willing to buy only wheat and rice.
Mr. Saha.
I was going to explain that, yes. The point is, wheat and rice is a highly subsidized cereal available to the farmers through the PDS. Compared to the price at which wheat and rice come in PDS, bajra is very expensive. So the farmer would try to sell that bajra. This is public knowledge. Now, if bajra is procured by the government and distributed in PDS, the farmers will consume bajra. In Haryana, South Haryana, bajra has been the staple cereal for for time immemorial. Farmers there, for the last 50 years or so, have started eating roti with chapati, wheat rotis. So these are habits which have formed due to economic compulsion and skewed procurement by the government. I am arguing that the government should procure or enforce purchases at MSP of a whole basket of crops which will lead to crop diversity. On the issue of surplus economy, we love to talk about that, But we've forgotten that India can't be compared to Monaco. So the peculiarities of India have to be understood in the context of India, and to draw an example of Netherlands and New Zealand and to place it on India to understand its economics is not going to be helpful. There are 70, 80 crore people involved in this, their livelihood. Perhaps Vijayji has some suggestion on what they should do.
Mr. Sardana, so it's turning out to be a chicken and egg argument
no, it's very
over
simple. I will take a lead from
Yes.
Avik Shah Sahab. He says that farmers, because they are getting cheap wheat and rice, that's why they are not eating bajra. So my request is that whoever is producing cereals, they should not be entitled to source cereals from PDS
No,
system
he is
because
also
they should
saying
eat their
that
own
there
crop.
is a problem with bajra because it has not been made a part of the PDS.
No,
Perhaps
see,
if
that's
the
not the
government
issue.
made it part of PDS,
No, I
then
think we are
procurement
mixing.
would
We are
increase.
mixing. No, we are mixing. When you are producing food grains, when you are producing food grains, you should not be entitled to seek food grain from the PDS system. What is happening today? The farmer is growing wheat, selling wheat to FCI at 20 rupees, and going to PDS, buying wheat at 2 rupees, means first you have to pay the 20 rupees as procurement price, then subsidize another 18 rupees so that farmer gets 2 rupees wheat. It means the cost of wheat becomes 38, then handling charges. The economic cost of wheat for a farmer, which country has to bear as a taxpayer, is 45 rupees. So today, to satisfy a farmer's ego, for 1 kg, taxpayer has to spend 45 rupees per kg. Why we should not have a law, as Avik Shah Sahab is saying, that subsidized wheat and rice is killing the demand for bajra in the villages. So those who are producing farmers, those who are wheat cereal producers, they should not be entitled for PDS. Only the poor, landless people, urban poor should be allowed. Because farmers are producing their own grains. They should consume their own grains.
Okay,
Why
so-
they depend on PDS? That is what I think what Abhi Sai is suggesting.
So again,
Only
the
then they
argument
will have a diversification.
you are saying to ensure diversity, more things should be either introduced into the PDS or more should be covered under the MSP. But eventually, all of the subsidized grain or cereals or what have you under the PDS comes from the taxpayer's pocket. And if not today, in the long run, Mr. Saha, it is going to lead to an economic collapse. Again, it boils down to the argument, where will the money come from?
I was always under the impression that Vijayji is completely clued on to the Indian laws and the economic systems that guide these laws. The PDS is offered by law to people whose income is not considered sufficient for them to be able to feed themselves. Is Vijayji proposing that we change that law? We can. Perhaps Mr. Modi would like to try that. The farmer who gets subsidized cereals on PDS is getting so because the data that Vijayji is so fond of has shown that the average income of a farmhold family that depends on farming is so low that they can't subsidize, they can't survive. Why do you think there is this 500 rupees a month under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi? That is the level of support that the government has to give. So a family that cannot earn enough from the work that it does is being told, you go and eat your bajra, you are not entitled to PDS. I think this
No, so we will not argue that because that is a system which is already in place. That's not going to be changed. My question was different. The second part of what Mr. Vijay Sardana said is that how are you going to make it economically feasible? Because eventually what is given through PDS is much more subsidized than what the government pays for it. Who makes up for the difference? The taxpayer via the government. In the long run, it will not be feasible. Where do you think that money is going to come from?
Yeah. And that's a very interesting question. So, a little while ago, I heard that the farmer must be responsible for the nutri basket of the country. Now I hear that the farmer has to be responsible for the efficiency of the government's operations. Why does it cost 45 rupees per kg? I mean, the farmer is selling it for 20. Who is eating up the rest 25? So, and why is the farmer getting 20? Because the government has computed that if the farmer doesn't get 20, he'll make a loss. So you decide the price below which I go under and I lose money. You handle your operations inefficiently. You take it to 45. Then you turn around, point your finger at me and say, you are the guy who's stealing all the money from the national exchequer.
Okay. So
we've heard of haircuts. Why do discoms get haircuts?
Okay. Vijay Sardana.
Because they serve an important sector, electricity.
Very true. Now what you are saying is that if you are getting, instead of whatever the deficiency you are getting for per day consumption, it comes to something about 1700 rupees. So in order to meet your cereal requirement, if Government of India gives you 1700 rupees to buy cereal at market price, over and above, then why government should buy it for PDS? We can give you cash transfer, isn't it? That is much cheaper because 40% is the handling charge of FCI. So what is happening, sir? First, we pay 20 rupees for the procurement. Then for handling charges, another almost 5,600 rupees per ton is FCI cost today, which is the most expensive in the world. And then we subsidize to 2 rupees. So what I'm trying to say is that the whole cost of 45-50 rupees per kg is an economic cost to the country. Instead of doing all this, we simply transfer the money that farmer can buy the food, enjoy good food, no argument. Then you manage your crop as per the market needs. Why you want to make Government of India liable? Because you are not asking Government of India which crop to buy. In other countries where government support comes, government puts the restriction that you will not produce more than this. So my point is that when you are asking for government should do this and government should do that, then you should also take a production cut, quality control, which quality you want MSP, will the material which is infested, filled with kachra, should get MSP, who will buy that rotten wheats which are coming in the market?
Okay.
My point here comes up is, you have to then look in national interest. What you are doing is,
so the production cost is going to be there, the storage cost is going to be there. If all of that cost instead, that money goes directly as a benefit, the DBT to farmers, will that not be more beneficial? But because I'm short of time, I want to touch on one more issue. The fact that if we have, the government can control its own procurement, Mr. Saha, but the government cannot compel private industry to purchase. In the end, could we have a situation also where you have private players saying, you know what, it's much easier for me to start importing such and such cereal or such and such pulse from outside. Why should I even buy it from Indian farmers?
Because Padmaja ji, we are talking about food security, the greatest internal security threat of the country. It may be cheaper to import soldiers to guard our borders. Do we do that?
Sir, it's not the same.
Key to the safety and security and sovereignty of the country. Why is it not the same?
Would that not discourage business? Any businessman, if it's going to be coerced by the government, they will just move their business elsewhere. Why should I run a business in a country where I'm actually constantly going into losses because the government is compelling me to buy the food stuff at a much higher rate from the farmer there? It is economically unviable.
Study that.
Very
Why Punjab is not getting investment? Study that.
Mr. Saha.
Very interesting. The same businessmen who will not procure if the prices are not according to the market demand supply curve, go to the stock exchanges and say, if the price of the share of my company falls below 10%, there must be a circuit breaker and trading must stop. My company's net worth must not be eroded. Everybody is seeking protection. Look around carefully. There is no Indian who is not protected by the government in some way or the other. And the richer you are, the more protected you are. That's the reality. Another debate, another time, I can list it all out for you, Padmaja ji.
Okay, hopefully we have touched on as many aspects as possible, but it's impossible to pack it into 25 minutes. We'll try and keep coming back to it because this issue is not going anywhere in a hurry. For the time being though, thank you very much Mr. Vijay Sardana and Mr. Avik Saha for having joined us on what we hoped was more of an informative discussion on this issue, which is really big at this point. Thank you.